Hi everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome to an art journal tutorial. This one's part of the Napkin Journal series. So this was inspired by this beautiful napkin. We have a ship and we have the lighthouse with the seagulls and this leafy texture stencil. I just knew I wanted to pair these together. So with the napkin, you get four images of each. So there's lots of decoupage material here on a single napkin. This napkin was from NinnysNapkins.com. She's more than napkins. She carries a lot of the TCW stencils and mediums, as well as other brands for all your mixed media and art journal needs. So I'm trying to decide which size substrate I want to work on. Am I going to work on my 9x12 sheet, or am I going to work on the, I don't know, it's roughly 6x8, 5x7 recipe binder. So in order to make those decisions, I'm just going to watercut some of the elements from the napkin. Separate it from that so that I can move it around on both size pages, mix and match elements, and be able to make those decisions. The scale needs to be right. I'm thinking the ships, I like the ships with the lighthouse, but something about the scale doesn't work for me, so not sure. And I might want to add more ships. So you can totally customize your orientation to fit whatever you're working on. So here I'm cutting apart the ship and the lighthouse because that's going to allow me to move that ship wherever I want. So right now I'm just exploring the possibilities. And I'm water cutting. This is a liner brush. I'm just putting water on it. I put it on the napkin a little bit and pull it apart little by little. And that just allows me, like I said, to play with it. I did remove the excess 2 plies of white napkin, and I saved those for either cleanup or to do some stamping on and use in other projects. So there was an awful lot of playing going around, but I find, like I said, easier to do when it's free. And there are so many images. You can try one this way and then do something else on a different page. So I chose to use the smaller art journal page. This is from my recipe binder, and I've rounded off the edges with my corner punch. And I'm just playing. I separated the nautical image. I think I'm going to put that at the top instead of down below. So now it's time to put some base color. I know I want to do some stenciling on top, but I'm putting some blue. I want the water, and then up top I'm going to have like a sunrise, sunset kind of sky. There's a lot of texture on this background. It had lifted up. So I use light blue permanent, and then I'm putting in some yellow green and getting that. That's my base color. It's the beginning. And then I decide, I want more texture and I want to build movement in the water. So I grab my swirl homemade stamp and I'm putting some thick gesso on there, stamping in and around and just spinning it. This is going to give those swirls. It's a little bit texturized, not as much as modeling paste. Loving the look. And then I'm going up top. Some has more texture if I've used more or less. So now I want to colorize, put the base color for the top half. So I'm putting some of the yellow, I think that's, and then orange, alizarin crimson, and then I do deep violet. And I'm blending them in between. I can take back with some baby wipe if I want. And even without stenciling, because I have that texture with that swirl stamp, I could have left it at that. But I don't, because I want to play and I want to try different things. And there we have where the ocean meets the sky. I want to add a little bit more swirl and pattern that might be peeking through, so I grabbed this left swirl stamp that I also got from NinnysNapkins. It's a Stamperia stamp. And, you know, I don't do a great job of stamping, but this is adding interest to the background. It doesn't have to be perfect. I want some of that contrast. I want some of this to be peeking through at the end, and it does. But I know that when I do some of the stenciling, this is going to be pushed back. It's going to be covered. So I apologize, this is off screen, but I am stenciling on the water part, and I'm just using different blues and greens and aquas to stencil down there. I do one, I lift the stencil, I move it to a different portion, and this I'm hoping is going to create a lot of movement. There we go. Finally, I looked up at the camera, and I apologize for that. This is aquamarine blue. And you can see I've made like waves just with this one leafy texture stencil. I love this stencil. This works so well. I've done some jelly printing with it, and I've loved it. I love the movement that it creates. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put that there. Looking back, before I do too much stenciling, now I come in with some bright aqua. And sometimes when you're not sure what you should do, if you should do more, just take a step back, take a little bit of a break. There was lots of that going on in the creation of this page. Now I'm adding some white. Again, sticking with the blues, the greens, the colors of the sea, and just layering it up. And that's giving, you know, what was first there is further back. I decide I want to do something different at the top, so I'm getting my script stamp and I'm using archival ink that is permanent when dry. And I'm just stamping that there because I want, even though I'm going to use the same stencil at the top, I want something a little bit different, a different detail that catches your interest. Adding more blue down below. Does anyone suffer from, like, when do you say when? When do you say stop? And now I'm liking this more. I like that. There's lots of movement in that water. Now I'm going to take the deep violet and I'm putting it and some of the crimson on the top. And I want that same pattern in the sky. Kind of resembling wind. Putting some blue there to tie into the blue that's down below. But I'll be completely honest with you. At this stage, it's like, I like it, but, you know, it's a little much. It's not, hasn't quite come together yet. So I just keep pushing through. I decide to edge this with black to frame it. I always find that helps, and it just keeps me in the creative movement It allows me to just look at the page and process and think about what I might do next. Remember, if this absolutely goes south and I do not like it at all, I can always just put a coat of gesso on it and take it back to ground zero and start over. So I'm happy enough with the background. So I'm putting the lighthouse focal image from the napkin where it is, and I'm roughly tracing around it. If I glued this on with the background as it was, I would lose some of the detail in the focal image. And since I don't plan on painting this out and brightening it up, I want to have white underneath so I get the true vividness of the napkin as it is. So I'm just sponging or painting with a paintbrush the area where I'm going to glue the lighthouse. Alternatively, you can glue that lighthouse napkin part onto cardstock or copy paper and then cut that out and glue it on, and that would keep the colors white too. So you can do either, which way works best for you. Now you'll see, if you've got an eagle eye, you'll see that this isn't exactly perfect, that some of that white went past where the napkin's going to be glued. And I'll show you how to fix that. That is not a big problem. You want to get as close as possible. I'm using Liquitex Basics Matte Medium Fluid to decoupage the napkin down. That's what I have the most success with. Not sure where I want this motif to go, but I want to see it, so I'm painting it white underneath. Give it a quick dry, and then I will glue it down with the Fluid Matte Medium as well. And as always, between layers, you want to make sure that it's perfectly dry. I use a heat tool because I can't be patient. So here I'm just getting those colors that are in the background and painting out any of the white area that's peeking there. If it's blue, if it's just blue, and you don't have to be exactly right. It's very forgiving. And you can get right up to the edge. This is why I typically use the water cutting and I get as close as possible. But if you leave more of it, this is what you can do to hide it. Now I'm not happy with the top yet, so I'm coming in with white. I want to lighten and brighten it. So this is just white gesso, but you could use acrylic paint, white acrylic paint, which may be more opaque, whiter. I'm just trying to avoid getting on the lighthouse there. I wanted to whiten everything down, and then I'm going to come back with some of the other colors and stencil on top. And because it's white now, those are going to show up. And yes, right now it's really busy, and I wasn't sure that that was the smartest thing to do. But hang in there. So here I'm coming in with the colors. I've got alizarin crimson. I'm going to use some of the deep violet. That's going to push back the white, but it's going to show up on where it covers the white. And it's going to add all these layers to the sky. I'm liking it more and more. What do you think? Is it too busy? Then I wait a while and I walk away, and then I come back with this chicken wire reverse. This is the 6-inch stencil, and I'm stenciling in on black, and the scale of this small stencil and the pattern just ties everything together. It just somehow pushed back the movement from the leafy texture one, but it added to it. And it's very fine. And the temptation when you're stenciling with a fine stencil is to press really hard or to use more paint, but that will seep under. So little by little, just build it up. But this is making me happy, and it's just making everything work together. It's also adding that black contrast, breaking up the eye, breaking up all that movement. There, I got a little heavy-handed, so because everything is acrylic and it was dry, I can take a baby wipe, wipe it back, and get rid of my mistake. If you're using anything that's water activated, you can't do that. And there's a close-up of it. I love that look. It just, this step really made this page for me. A page is not done until it's done. And if you're not sure where to go, give it time. Walk away, do another page, go do something else. Then I went through my Ocean Commotion sentiment pack and I picked out a sentiment that I liked, and I wanted to break up all that pattern. And I knew my focal image is almost as strong, or my sentiment is as much a focal image as the lighthouse. So here I'm bubble cutting around the parts that are script. The other part I'm keeping as a solid rectangle. And I'm just going to play with the placement of it. But it has almost like equal weight to the lighthouse. It's almost the same size as the lighthouse. And I like how the script part of this sentiment works with the swirls that are in the sky and in the ocean. Using my fluid matte medium to glue down. If you don't have fluid matte medium, you can use gel medium matte. Once everything's dry, I'm coming in with my General's charcoal pencil. This one is the medium. It doesn't smudge as much, and I just want to add a few lines just to bring out the focal image, highlight, bring it out just a bit. I am smudging in some bigger areas with that. I do switch out to the soft or extra soft when I go where the water meets the focal image to add a little bit more shading. I just want to bring it out, and I like the sketchiness of the charcoal pencil. Plus, I know that since the charcoal pencil would be water activated, at this point I have no plans of adding any more layers. So I'm not adding anything wet on top of this. So this is a good time to use this charcoal pencil. Here I'm doing the shading where the ocean meets the focal image. I just want that to stand out a little bit more. And then I'm shading around the sentiment. And I did not like it. It got too dirty, but because it had matte medium on it, was covered, I was able to wipe that charcoal off pretty much right to the white. And I grab my Sakura glaze pen instead and I trace around it. And I like that look better. It's a little cleaner. Then I take the Sakura glaze and I decide I'm going over top of this script font. I want it to be dimensional. I want it to be shiny so it stands out even more than it is. And so I'm just holding it, going very slow, and it's just kind of flooding that script stamp. And it's kind of 3D. Then I do the same thing with the word, the C at the top. Then I'm going to splatter with gold. I'm avoiding splattering on the focal image, but all the other parts are getting a good dose of gold. So that I've created lots of layers with the stencils and the stamps in the background. So I hope you can use some of these techniques. I do end up with a page that I love. I love the movement that's in there. I love how you can see the script and the swirls. The texture from my homemade swirl stamp is still there, although you can't see this on the camera. So go give something from this video a try. Go get creative.